You know what? Hold on.
No, I corrected her warrant. No dismissal.
I'm here to keep an eye on you. If I kick you in my boots, that means to be quiet. I'll kick you in my boots. Be quiet. Stomp on your foot, that means you just listen to the person.
That's why I got the shoes on.
I love the heck is on my purse and that one.
That's it.
That is true. Do you know if that gentleman's called in yet, or is he gonna call in? You guys have someone?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not in here.
This is where we go. I'm right home, we can share.
So I have it said that they get in and you here we go.
Oh, thank you.
So, thank you for coming. Appreciate it.
What's that?
Oh, that's the new one, that's the forest. Okay. That's,
I think she's actually working.
With work is pleasure. Doing with the convertible mount on the wall.
This guy's not calling until 7:30, right?
But that.
I'd call this meeting to order. I would like to welcome everybody to our Park and Rec meeting, especially thank the board members and manager for coming. I appreciate it. Appreciate everybody coming. Reverend Short, thanks for coming. Really, you guys appreciate it. Joseph, Kelly?
No, she's at home with the babysitter.
I'd like to call this meeting to order. And make a motion. Make a motion to approve the minutes from last month.
Yep. So real quick, we just had a typo on the agenda for today. So you're just going to have to make a motion to remove Aaron Campbell and put Joseph.
Okay, I was wondering who.
Yeah, we missed
a
good bit.
So that came about because Christy does the meeting minutes, because Summer is related to Aaron. I think she just got confused with the relationships.
Like I said,
Got order already.
I can leave.
we will make the correction and recognize that Joe is here.
Okay, so now the amended minutes, we can approval to. Well, it took 2 years. I think make a motion to approve the amended minutes.
I'll second.
Those in favor? This is a close, right? Okay. Like to open forum on action items. Like to open forum for anybody on in the stands that has anything they'd like to comment on. Thank you. First thing we'd like to talk, we have a guest tonight from the Forest Service. Introduce him. Go ahead, Randy, you can do some for me, thank you.
Yeah, Rick Hartley was here tonight, DCNR, and I met with Rick a month and a half ago regarding the Honeybrook tract of the William Penn State Forest. And we had a good discussion and talked about what type of facilities, amenities might be there, and the possibility for the township to maybe get involved in helping develop the property. So I don't know, Rick, would you be comfortable just giving an overview
Sure.
of what's happened so far and where you see it going?
You been talking to that thing, stand here, or?
We're comfortable for you. Microphone preferably. Okay. How's this? Does that work okay? You want to spin a circle so I can look at everybody then? Okay. So I'm Rick Hartley, and I work with our William Penn Forest District, and we cover the 9 southeastern counties of Pennsylvania. We work from Lehigh, Northampton, Berks, Lancaster, down to Philly. So just a small showing of hands. Did anybody know that the Bureau of Forestry or State Forest existed down here before we put any signs up? Okay, so usually it's like, the game fish and game lands around here, like, State Forest, they never land by Williamsport. So we've had an office down here since the 1920s. With our first lands that we have managed with being our fire towers, so the fire tower, French Creek State Park, and then we had one over at Cornwall and at Brookerville. Our lands that we have, we started acquiring land about 1982. We got our first piece, and then we kind of held stagnant until 2015, and then we started an active acquisition program, which was through the help of our Federal Highlands Conservation Act, which was federal dollars, which allowed us to purchase property that was on the open market. So we had, literally see a for sale sign going up, where a developer can't move a property, they start working with the conservancy to try and unload something. We acquired a lot of land, about 1,800 acres in the last 10 years. Most of that is from developers that bought property right before 2005, right? So they hammered in 2005 by that market downturn, then they got clobbered in 2008, and just the market didn't come back around. So every year you wait, and every year that, you're paying taxes and not generating revenue. So, it gets to a point where they just got to get off the books. And, fortunately, we're, an open buyer to be able to manage those lands, especially bigger properties, and having that federal money is a huge help for that. The particular piece here, our Brook tract, that's how we refer to the property that's in the township here. So we have a lot of hills within our system already. So Barron Hill was another name that was a contender, but we just focused on Brook because people can actually put that on the map. We got enough hills up in Berks County that we have. So we acquired this in 2017 or 2018, and we were working with our plans there. So briefly, some of the other things that we do is we provide free technical assistance to forest landowners. So if they've got sick trees or they want to do timber management or wildlife projects, we're a resource to be able to lay all the cards on the table of there are some options that a landowner can do. We would much rather have those conversations before the trees are cut rather than afterwards. It's kind of hard to stand back up and you're working with problems that you could potentially avoid up front.
And then the third leg of our business that we work with is our wildland fire prevention, suppression, and mitigation programs. So we work closely with our volunteer fire wardens and our volunteer fire companies to provide training, suppression assistance, and tools through a few federal grant programs that we administer as well. So back to our property here, our river property. So that was the former All Seasons Resort. You folks remember it? Anybody remember when that was actually up and running? I hear it was quite the place from some of the people that we've run cross paths with. When I started doing my research, I tried to poke and prod anybody that actually had a clue of the construction of And it was hard because there's almost no permitting, there's no maps. You know, I mean, this was done back in the 70s, and it was, you know, a guy and his buddies got together and they kind of did it. It's kind of my impression looking at it. Everybody that actually did the work is no longer here, so that was complicated. So the best contact I had, he was 12-year-old when things were being done. So he remembers playing around, the guys on the backhoes and stuff. He's like, I think there's stuff over here, and there used to be a well over here. So that helped us as we started to do our cleanup plans. Anybody that's been in that site, you know, the last 15 years, it went bankrupt for the second time in 1992, so everything was cannibalized on that site. You know, there was no scrap metal to be found for the demolition guys. Usually they've had their bids, knowing they can get scrap value out of it. I think he had enough scrap to fill up a pickup truck. Everything was cannibalized out of there. So one of the things that we offer for state forest ground is a passive recreation space that's open for the public. So pretty much you can do any kind of recreation that you want, except motorized vehicles. So no dirt bikes, no ATVs, no snowmobiles. We do permit those activities, snowmobiles and ATVs, on the bigger tracts of state forest and upstate typically. Where we have larger expanses of ground that we can actively manage a trail system for that. 156 acres is not a big enough property to that, right? So we don't want to have the noise impact of it for the neighbors, the erosion impact, all the things that go along with that. But with that being said, that particular property was a local ATV and dirt bike park because it was a no man's land for 30 years. The county land across the street is just a step above that. So we work closely with Pennsylvania Game Commission and their game wardens for our initial rules and regs enforcement. And we were able to get, we had 16 citations for illegal dirt bikes and ATVs that were on there. And we worked with local community groups that were riding, so groups of friends, and it seems like once you got all of the groups, or a guy from each of the group, the word got out there, and then the dirt bike and ATVs kind of just disappeared. So we haven't had any complaints, knock on wood, in 14 months of dirt bike or an ATV in there. Not saying that we're going to keep them out 100%, but the complaints are going, we haven't seen the track, so I think the word has gotten out there. So the Game Commission has been a great resource for law enforcement. We have a ranger, forest ranger that we're supposed to get on board. We tried to hire for him 3 times last season, and we can't compete. So hopefully this time, the 4th time's a charm. It's a seasonal wage position with no benefits and limited pay when they can work for a local municipal police force for 3 times the pay with benefits and paid holidays. So you can't blame them. But hopefully we can get somebody that's into the training and have them here for a few months. So that's this year's plan. But in the meantime, we can utilize the Game Commission and their deputies for law enforcement. All of our staff, we're trained as state forest officers, so we can enforce our rules and regulations. So all of the rules and regs that are on the posters that you see at our entrance, we can do that. So I can write a ticket for parking by a gate, or we can file a citation for litter. But when it comes to chasing down the guy on the ATV or, following up with a hunting violation or the guy in the car, obviously we're not doing that. So as far as our law enforcement, our complaints have drastically decreased. And then the next part is as far as opening up to the public and how we're going to get people in there. It was open to the public since the day that we had closed on it. But we did want to drastically publicize it because of all of the buildings that were in there and the hazards for all those buildings. So we didn't want to have a family in there and kids falling through the ice in the pool and drowning or getting hurt in a collapsed building. Obviously, we can't keep people out, right? But we don't want to promote that either. So that's why we held off on doing a lot of releases and developing trailer and things there. We just completed our project. So we have about $420,000 involved in cleanup for taking all of the stuff in the campground out. And that ranges from demolishing the buildings, taking out the septic tanks, cleaning up trash, moving electric lines, and doing some erosion control work. It's not 100% with the trash, but all of the buildings are gone, the pools are gone, the septic's all collapsed, so we're getting there. One of our next kind of initiatives with the cleanup is just general litter work. So when we first got it, anybody remember where the clubhouse was, where the fire happened? It was in 2008, I think, 2006 or 8. So they took the debris from the building and they threw a basement hole, and then the public came and used the rest of the hole to throw all of the other trash. So we pulled out 15 dumpster loads of garbage from that hole and 300 tires that were dumped there. So that was like the initial trash cleanup. And then just the remnants of campground disintegrating, there's debris everywhere. So we've done 3 cleanups so far. We utilized a volunteer group in the Pennsylvania War Corps to walk through the woods and find anything that's not supposed to be there. And it looks great. And then a 50-mile wind comes along and it uncovers more stuff. So we think a few more cleanup days like that will be able to get it looking like it should. So moving forward, now that the buildings are gone, we are working with implementing a recreation plan. And on 156 acres, there's 7 miles of trails. And most of those trails were from the campground days. And the other half of those are the road trails from all the ATVs and dirt bikes were in there. Of course, when you're on no man's land riding an ATV, you're going to go straight up and down and have a really fun ATV riding experience. So those are not sustainable trails. So our trail plan that we're working on now is identifying the trails that we want to keep, and then kind of working backwards from there, right? So we have, okay, well, here are loops that we're keeping. What are the problems with those loops? So where are the really bad washouts, where culvert pipes should be, where the erosion is, and then what's causing those problems. Going upstream, figuring out where we can start fixing the problems and working our way down. So that plan is going to be submitted for funding the end of this summer, and we'll work in a few different phases to try and accomplish that. So that's where when we have our trails that are painted, marked, identified, they'll be on our public use map, and then over time, those trails will become better. So we'll have a better walking surface, we'll have the erosion stuff figured out. But in the meantime, it's all open and available. And the trails that are on your map, they're in these little pink dots here. That's not all of them, but those are the trails that you could drive like an ATV on. So they're easy enough to find, they're easy enough to walk on, and those will be whatever trails we can keep will certainly be within that system that's already on the map. The ones that were really that we didn't bother putting on. As far as access points, we do have 2 access points. One on Hill Road, so where the campground parking lot used to be, that's going to be our main parking area. That gate is going to remain closed until we can block off all the trails and the roads that connect to the parking lot. So if we just open it up, then you can drive and party around and pick up truck anywhere in there. So we need to either put gates or boulders or something where we can kind of corral people where they need to be. We're big proponents of having our parking areas on center, so you can't hide and do stuff you're not supposed to do there. That reduces the litter and all the other things that could happen in the evenings. So it'll most likely be kind of the front half of that parking area, and then being able to open that up to the whole parking area for special events or anything like that. The other access we have is off of Route 10, where the deer fence is. And we built that deer fence with a volunteer group 3 summers ago. And that serves as our southeastern tree nursery. So the Forrestry has a nursery in Center County where we grow all of the little tree seedlings for state parks, state forests, and for riparian buffer programs. We don't have any tree nurseries down here for genetics that grow in the southeast. We put a ton of trees on buffers in the southeast. That was farmed, and some guy over the last 100 years had to hand pick all the rocks out of it, so it was a shame just to see it go to waste. So we're utilizing that right now for elm trees, and over time we maintain it, we'll be managing that for other species as well. So we can go to one spot, we can collect that seed, and then send it off to the nursery to grow out the trees. So it's elms now in one section, it might be chestnuts in another section, it might be riparian shrubs in another section. In the meantime, we have it planted as a native pollinator mix in there, so we don't have to mow it all the time, and then it benefits the wildlife that's there now. This spring, we're planning on doing a prescribed burn to peel off the weeds that came back. A really expensive seed mix didn't take as well as we had 1 or 2 last year, so we got to do it again. And hopefully, second time's the charm with that. We want to be good neighbors too, so we don't want to have it turn into a sea of thistle which then blows across the street and the guy's trying to grow pumpkins wants to choke us. So it's all a give and take there. But you can park at either locations, and then the trails connect from both sides of the property. The north side of the property, which is most of the Honeybrook Township ground, is all tulip poplar trees, and they're about this big. And if you look on the old aerial photos, that was farmed back in the 50s and 60s. So that was all open ground there. And then on the other side of the property, the southern half, south of the waterway, those are, that's an oak beech forest over there. So that was forest for a really long time. And we're working on taking care of some of the weeds to promote the little oak trees that are starting to grow and let them grow up into the big oak trees. We have funding available now that we'll be building a deer fence over there on 30 acres so that we can keep the deer off the trees and let them at least grow up to 10 or 12 feet and then take the deer fence away. So some of the things that we're able to bring to the table are all of those wildlife projects. 10% of all timber sales within the state of Pennsylvania on state forest ground go into a regeneration fund. And last year, I think that was $22 million. So $2.2 million goes into that regeneration fund. And then we can make requests on that fund to do some of those habitat projects. So it's a really exciting way that, my forester staff can go out there and they can prescribe the top of the one recommendation, that we have funding and resources available to do that. It was make the forest better for the next person. That's going to be the next guy that's in my role. It's going to be for all of our children to be able to enjoy that. We have to start somewhere with it. So I'm going to stop talking and field questions that you guys have on the site. Does that work? Okay, and I'll spin around in a circle.
I guess I'll start.
Okay.
Before you mentioned there might be some logging going on in there. Do you have a firm plan on that, or is it?
So the question was about logging there. That's proposed for 2025 for the 9 oak trees that are on the Hill Road side. All of our state forest system is part of a management plan, and we manage for 150-year rotation. So part of our mission is to protect and enhance native plants, and part of our mission is to supply products for the forest industry. And right now, the majority of Pennsylvania trees are in the old age class, where they're 100 to 120 years old. As those trees die out, what comes back in their place? And we want to be able to manipulate so when we have desirable things that come back in place. And overall, our 2.4 million acres of state forest land, we manage about half of that for timber. Instead of having all of the trees big and old, we want to have a nice consistent flow so that we have an even distribution of the ages of trees. So we got, 100,000 acres of little trees, 100,000 acres of teenage trees, and 100,000 acres of middle trees. Not only does that help to stabilize the flow of products that we can generate, but it also serves to diversify the ecosystem that's out there. So the furnace hills all throughout here, they're all the same, right? You drive along the ridge, every single property looks the same. So where do all the songbirds go that need small habitat? They go to that haircut that happened on 10 between Huntingburg and Morgantown, right? That was the only place that you had habitat like that. That was the only place where you saw those types of critters. So having that distribution across the system helps to enhance that. So we have our plan where we work, those acres are planned within just our state forest system. And then we also try and work with the Game Commission as neighboring land management agencies, especially here in the southeast, because they do own and manage a lot more ground than we do in the southeast. But up in the northern tier of the state is full farm. Any question back here?
So when you're planting these trees or removing trees or not, what do you do about invasive species? Things that don't belong there?
Sure.
Not natural to Pennsylvania?
Sure. Did you guys hear the question?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
We do a lot of invasive species management. We did a project there where the pole barn was. So when you go, where the Black Gate is on Hill Road?
I actually don't.
Okay. So where the Black Gate is on Hill Road.
I'm with
Okay. Just down, straight downhill from
It's
there.
black.
Right. We did a project where we mowed the autumn olive. And we reserved the hawthorn and flowering dogwood. So we reserved those, we mowed the autumn olive, and we went back and sprayed that autumn olive to kill it before it grew back up into the also shrub. And the idea was that we would create a small shrubby habitat to get woodcock in there. The idea, if you build it, they will come. And the biologist that heard woodcock in there doing a mating call. And then we had another hunter then that's all of that in archery season. So it worked. There's still autumn olive there, but those are some of the things that we do. We do a lot of work on pre-emergent control for stiltgrass and wild minute. And then we also have, each tract has a vegetation management plan, and part of that is we have an early detection rapid response program. So certain bad species that are in an area, if we see that, that means we make sure we go back that we can get it. Not that we just put a list and think we're going to get to it and never actually happens. So for example, down here, we don't have any Japanese Angelika tree, which is it's a tree that grows about 20 feet tall and everything's got spines on it. From the roots to the stem, to the leaves, to the sticks of the leaves attached to it, everything has thorns on it. It creates these big clusters of berries, the birds eat berries, drop them off, and you get one. When you mow it, you cut the stem, you get 1,000. It's one of those types of plants. We don't have that here. If we see it here, then we go in and hammer it. Other properties that we manage, I've got acres of it. So yes, we're tackling it, but that's not something that I'm going to drop everything and go get tomorrow. So those are some of the ways that we kind of approach
And how
our.
many acres this is right out here?
This is 156, and we manage just shy of 3,000 on everything that's in this map.
And I think, what is it, about 50 acres of that is in Brook Township?
About a third.
About a third.
I just had a question.
Sure.
Go ahead. I was just going to, a third of it, did you? Or
I think it's about a third.
About a third, okay.
Yeah, so it'll be about 50-ish acres.
Okay. Sorry. That's all right. This is a quick question. I pastor church up there.
Okay.
We work with another organization, an outdoors group, and if we were to organize something to help with the cleanup days, that's something that we would deal directly with DCNR to contact you.
Correct.
How would you do something like that to be a part of the community and helping with cleanup?
Sure, so our contact is on here, and our resource account is on here.
So just
17.
on their contact.
Yeah, contact our office. and then that'll be routed to myself, because I do all of our resource work here. And then we do coordinate with volunteer groups and,
Yes,
you know,
actually, he does a big group volunteer outdoors,
okay.
and then our church, and we have a lot of outdoor canoeing, hiking,
Okay,
and so, you know, Kevin's visited us a few times, he even said, Pastor, let's go walk. I haven't been there yet, but
we
we're
have,
interested in cleanup.
okay, that's great. You know, we have a decent our volunteer system, you know, so that provides the insurance if anybody gets injured on a volunteer thing. That's just a username and deal online.
Same time, I'll reach out to you.
Sure, sure. You know, and then we try and do that a few weeks in advance, so we would pull all the logistics together for doing that. Yep.
Thanks.
Question, I guess?
No, I was
Okay.
clarifying.
I have one more question. You
Sure.
said something about a prescribed burn. So, and that's, the purpose of that is to minimize the opportunity for a wildfire.
No.
Okay.
So the reason why we're doing the prescribed burn in that meadow with inside this is, so last year when the seed that we planted, not all of it grew, and the places that it did grow, didn't grow great. So a lot of weed seeds came up out of the seed bank. So using that will be a tool then, that way we can burn off those weed seeds and then plant our desirable stuff again without having to use as much chemical. So we're not opposed to using chemical, but we are FSE certified, so Forest Stewardship Council certified, and SFI, Sustainable Forestry certified. So all of the really effective chemicals that the farmers use around here, I can't use that. So the stuff that we can use, it works, we just have limitations. So we think we can get a better result by getting the seed out of there. The other option is for another heavy plowing, which is what we did last year, we roll that stuff up. in the surface. Yeah.
Well, honestly, I'm geeking out right now, Rick. Ray, Kevin, and I got to take a walk through there. I work for Natural Lands, southwestern Pennsylvania. I mean, you're talking, it's all that language.
Okay.
So I love that it's sitting here in our backyard, and I encourage anybody in Honeybrook Township, you know, meander out. It's something peaceful. So I'm looking forward to what's moving forward. What interests me about our walk was actually the historical structure site, which looks like an old spring house, and then there was actually a homestead of some
Right,
location.
so the spring house, when you're walking downhill, is on the right.
Yes,
And then the house and the barn was on the left.
okay,
And you can see that in that old aerial photo.
okay. What do you know of that, or do you have any knowledge besides a 12-year-old that was way too young?
That's it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything,
Okay.
any history about the spring house. You can tell that somebody did something there, modern, you know, there's new wood that's around. I don't know. Just, like to the left of that is where the beach was
Okay,
for the pond, that was the beach, and then if you turn around, there's a cattail hole now, and that was where like the children's pond was.
yep,
And I think there's some playground equipment that's kind of involved for those.
okay, very cool.
I wish we'd have crossed paths a long time ago. My dad did a great deal of work there when that campground was built,
Okay,
and he would have loved telling you the history of that. I don't know if the owners still even still live in the campground.
that was Milner's.
Yes,
The granddaughter,
is she still living?
she, well, I'm assuming is, I never met
I
her.
don't know, I lost track.
Yes,
He had
and,
burned.
Milner was, the Milner's granddaughter has a YouTube video on the site.
Does she?
And,
I have to look
yeah,
that
so
up.
you Google like All Seasons Resort, Honeybrook Campground, YouTube, something pops up in there.
I have to look
And
that up.
it was like a reminiscent thing of like, I was a kid, you know, and like, here was the clubhouse, and here was one of those types of videos. And they had given me some contacts, people to try and find, and we could make a connection. Ironically, when we were there with the building guy, with the demolition guy, somebody parked next to the gate, and he walks up and he's like, hey, what are you doing here? Right? And we got that conversation in our back pocket, what this is, what we do, all that kind of stuff. And he's like, you want to know where stuff's buried? Like, I sure do. So he ended up being the gentleman that Goldberg had hired. So that was the developer that had purchased it after the campground company sold it. So he was hired to clean up stuff. So when there was a hole, he was hired to put stuff on top of the hole. Not necessarily retire, just make it look like it goes away. So he pointed us in areas that we could look around, and then we found 6 additional septic tanks doing that.
How about horses?
They're permitted.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, horses are permitted.
Portions are using it.
That's great.
Yep. Last year, or 18 months ago, we had some cameras up there monitoring for the ATVs. You know, so we do have limited staff, you know, with the game commission, so we could try and pattern when people are coming and going, then we know when we can staff. So the neatest horse thing that was there was an Amish family that had, they were in a snow sleigh towed by a horse, right? So you had the parents on the big horse in the snow sleigh, and then you had all the little kids with like the mini donkeys in their snow sleigh, right? Just doing their thing in there. And, so yes, there, you know, horses use it. Part of our having a sustainable trail system is to protect it from that type of use. Horses are really, really rough on dirt trails. If you build them appropriately, that's okay. If you just run a horse on a dirt path in the woods, then that's not okay. So that's what we're doing right now. So our contact is on here.
Like I said, the FD17 at PA, any questions, you know, that was given around as myself as well. My first email is r@pa.gov. If there's any neighbors that ever call in with complaints, I'd be happy to use my cell phone as well. You know, they can always text me about a complaint. I hear somebody shooting in here, should they be doing that? You know, or if we hear somebody arguing in here. Not saying that I'm going to have to be able to do anything. That sounds wrong, right? But I can't come out instantly and do that, but at least we have that documented. So knowing when it happens definitely helps us as opposed to hearing a complaint 3-4 months later. It just happened across the paths.
There's signage.
Correct.
Say what rules.
Yes.
One last question.
Sure.
Where does most of your funding come from?
All of our funding comes from the general fund.
The general fund you do one.
We're looking at it.
Okay.
Yep. So in 3 weeks, when you send in all your tax paperwork, right, if you don't get any check back from the state,
And part of that comes from you, so. We do generate monies from our timber program and from our oil and gas.
gas revenues. So our timber program is kind of a shell game, right? So we keep 10%, the balance goes back into the general fund, and then we get the money from the general fund. Our equipment and vehicle fleet is funded through the oil and gas, and then the rest of that goes back into the general fund. So the thing one of the main things that makes us different from the Pennsylvania Game Commission is we're funded by the general fund, which means our management plans have to address everybody's needs and concerns.
That's what I was
The
getting.
Game Commission as an independent agency is funded through license sales and their oil, gas, and timber revenues.
Right.
And they need to appease their constituents for their agency.
So it's two different funds.
Correct. Yeah. And 2 different funds, 2 different, slightly different management techniques that work together. Yeah. Well, thank you for the opportunity. Glad I got to meet everybody here. Like I said, any other questions or concerns down the road, feel free to
Can you say your name one more time?
Rick.
Rick.
Rick Murphy.
Thank you, sir. I hope you come back and see us again.
Likewise, and I can hang out for a minute.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And there's more maps on the table, and if anybody wants them for any programming, I've got a lot of maps. So we're going to be adding another 300 acres in Bucks County at the end of this year. So the 20,000 maps in my closet at the office will be out of date. So for the barrier.
Cut you off, Rick. Sorry. But we're going to switch to, I think,
So Steve is on Zoom. I'm gonna talk super loud, so hopefully he can hear me. And then Steve, if you could unmute yourself and potentially your camera, that would be awesome.
Maybe that's about you, Paul. I don't know about that.
Let me turn on the microphone for the.
Hey, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Can you guys hear me? Yeah, we can hear you.
It's on. And you got it.
Tell to Facebook.
Tell a little bit more about it.
To who?
The people's.
People? Or- Good?
Okay.
Okay.
You must have been something else when you had it. Thanks, David, for coming.
Of course, of course. I'm up here in Bucks County, so Rick's got to fill me in on where the new place is going up here in Bucks County for the new forest, I guess. Congratulations to us. Fascinating listening to what he had to say about what's being used as the old campground now open to the public where there's open space. That's super important for me and my job and what I do in creating outdoor recreation in the form of disc golf. But what I'm really doing is I'm creating sanctuaries where people can go out and get outside and kids have a place to go and spend time. So that was exciting to listen to. Rick, congratulations.
Cool. Well, we invited Steve to come and talk to us tonight. We've been, if you don't mind, I'm Kevin Doherty, this is Joe Offgar, and this is the rest of the crew here. I wanted to let everybody know, you're not just the Wizard of Oz up there. We actually invited you to come and tell us a little bit about what you do as far as putting together disc golf courses. As we get more and more into this, we feel like we need to talk to somebody. We need to have somebody else with more experience, and appreciate you coming and talking to us tonight.
Sure, it's an honor for you guys. This is what I've done. So disc golf has been a passion of mine for about 28 years, just to give you a little bit of background. I started playing in 1996, and one of the very first disc golf courses that was built was in Sedgley Woods in Philadelphia. So in Paramount Park, right above Boathouse Road, is where the second disc golf course in the country was built. That was back in 1973. So disc golf has been something that has been growing at an exponential rate, probably more so in the past 20 years. But over the past probably 8 or 9 years, we've seen substantial growth. And then with COVID happening, disc golf was one of the only sports that you could actually get out and do during lockdown and that kind of thing. So we saw the sport go from about a $200 million industry in 2019 to a $500 million industry in 2020. Right now, currently, there's about 20,000 courses worldwide. Most of those are in the United States, but the northern areas of Sweden, Norway, and Finland are very, very active and are building courses at an alarming rate. It is the second national sport of Finland behind hockey right now. Here in the United States, it's been serious for quite some time. And I currently have 6 projects that I'm working on right now in designing and building. I've run sales development for the largest international disc golf company for the past 6 years until recently, and I started my own business called Lost Out Management Group, and I'm now designing and building on my own, as well as I run the second largest retail disc golf shop and online shop in the country. So I've got a lot of frisbees sitting around me right now. I've got an entire warehouse and shop full of them, and we're distributing all through New Zealand, Australia, all through Canada. Central America, Mexico is getting much bigger right now within the disc golf realm. So yeah, it's been something that's been a strong passion of mine for a long time. I started in the financial sales industry and worked for AEP Payroll Company for a long time, and never in a million years that I think I'd have a job working in this stuff. So it's certainly been a lifelong dream for me to be able to do this, more so it's the impact that I'm having on community, on family, help disc golf, for helping friends is what it is. The community is amazing. It gives people purpose. You don't have to be a stellar athlete to go throw frisbee in the woods, right? It's just something that kind of everybody feels like they can do. I have 5 kids, they all play disc golf. We all do family vacations and trips based upon what disc golf course is where and how we get to the next one, and it's a blast. I sent out 19 baskets today for Cape May, New Jersey. They're going to be putting the disc golf in 18 disc golf course in a park in Cape May. And so, we'll probably rent a house there back in this summer. More than likely. So, that being said, your project is the smallest project that I have going, okay? I had somewhat of a midlife crisis when I went to work for Marion Golf Club, and I was an assistant there, their green specialist, and I helped him get ready for the U.S. Open in 2013, Walker Cup in 09, and I decided I could start building disc golf courses the way the golf built. And to give an example, in 2020, I opened up a course in Snyder County, Pennsylvania, which is right on the Susquehanna River Valley. Beaver Springs, Pennsylvania, really, really small town. Not a lot of activity, but they handed me 750 acres with a 150-acre lake below. And they said, build us this golf course. And I am telling you, it was amazing. There was a boat ramp, there was a small parking lot, and this past year, Baylor Lake in Pennsylvania made its debut on the top 100 list, number 14 in the world, and it is the #1 free disc golf course in the world, and it's the most beautiful place you've ever seen. But that being said, we changed the entire local economy of Beaver Springs, Pennsylvania. Everybody flocked to this disc golf course from 46 states were represented, people that came to play the disc golf course. 5 or 6 countries came. We had every Airbnb and hotel room canceled, closed. And so the county just hired me for the next 2 years to be a disc golf consultant. They invested over $1 million now into the disc golf course and creating a full facility, a bathroom facility, and infrastructure. Next week I have a meeting with you, head of the Department of Outdoor Recreation that the state just launched, and they're looking to invest in large outdoor activity events within the state of Pennsylvania. So I'm pretty locked in to everything that's happening disc golf wise. I love your little park. I think it's amazing. I think it will be a great area for a 9-hole disc golf course that's really good, especially for an area of a park that's kind of underserved and don't have a whole lot going on. So to bring community there and to have that be something where you have some activity, especially with potential skate park going in, I think it's perfect. I would rather have Rick's 150 acres, but I'll tell you what. The little park will do just fine. It's a good start for you guys. I think it's a good introduction, a low-cost introduction on what disc golf is, okay? It's an easy way to get equipment to that park without making too big of an act. Everything that you put in there, all 9 holes, are just as easy to take out as it is to put in. You're not moving dirt, we're not doing anything crazy, we're not pouring concrete. So that being said, it's a very non-invasive way to create an outdoor recreation facility within this one. So if you guys, certainly I would love to answer any questions that you have. I have, it's super easy to walk through the procedure of installing the disc golf course. It does not take a lot of energy, effort. The hardest part is going to be the tee pads, but that's really easy as well. So, I can certainly walk through. I have guidelines for all of that stuff. All of the equipment will come with a warranty, so you guys will have lifetime warranty on the baskets that we're supplying. So if anything happens to them outside of a tree falling on, if there's something manufacturing-wise that happens with the equipment, we'll take care of it. But other than that, I did a small little 9-hole map and guideline on what I thought was going to be the best way to utilize that property. And you guys can test this thing out and see whether or not this all makes sense. I would assume that you're gonna see that it's bringing a lot of people to the park. It's not a big course. You're not gonna see the results that we had up at Taylor Lake. They allowed me to build one of the best courses in the country, so people just flock to it. But that being said, we can still build something that you're gonna see activity within the community. You're gonna see people actually utilize that park for what it is. I definitely, safety was number one. I got scared as soon as I saw the little playground that was back there and the thoughts that people would be back in that area. So I made sure that, we're not doing anything that's going to put anybody in danger or harm. Everything is always visible. So you can see from the tee box, you can see where you're throwing. So you know if people are walking down a path or people are on the playground or on the swings. And the course is set up really, really short. So I made the hole short enough where you're never really throwing hard enough where you're going to cause any damage or hurt people. My job, I've been doing this for 28 years, and I've never had I've never seen any type of lawsuit established because of somebody getting hit with a disc at the disc golf course. I kind of feel like it's in that same realm as somebody getting hit with a baseball at the Little League, right? So that being said, we make sure that we post signs, we make sure that we have an information board that shows park rules, that there's cautionary descriptive information on there, so for people that are coming to play disc golf, for people that are just walking in the park, have a realization that there is a disc golf course here, and to be aware. So that being said, I'd love to answer any questions that you guys have. Have you guys started with disc golf? Raise your hands. Let's see a show of hands. All right, that's awesome. Very good. Well, does anybody have any questions for me?
Yeah, can we see the layout? Where you got it? Where do you have that layout stashed?
I've got drone footage of it.
That's okay. We'll see it soon enough, hopefully.
Yeah, it's very simple. I did send over a course map to the guys over that I've been working with. So you should have it.
Okay. That's just,
Yeah, I got a question. What size area are we using? How much, what's the capacity?
I mean, possibly an acre of land, an acre and a half of land. It's not a large area. We're using, if you're familiar with the park, the Little League fields are there. There's some tennis courts, basketball courts. The entire right side of that park, there used to be a volleyball court that sits at the very front where the road runs by there. And the disc golf course will start just on the right side of that volleyball court. And it'll parallel neighbor's property going back towards where the swings sit and the playground area is. And it just kind of leads across that creek and back and forth through that area, and then it comes right back to the parking. So we're using a very, very small parcel of land. It doesn't go anywhere to the left side of where the basketball and the tennis courts and that kind of stuff are. I think the average size hole that we're doing is probably 150 to 200 feet, where typically the average hole on any one of my courses is anywhere between 600 and 700 feet. So a lot of par fours and par fives on the courses I'm used to developing. This is going to be very much a chip and putt. Anybody who really knows how to play disc golf is only going to bring their putters out to play, including myself. If I went out there to play, I would be throwing just putters because there's not enough room, and it's very much multi-use. That you don't want anybody out there throwing high-speed drivers or any of that kind of stuff. It just doesn't make any sense. I designed and built a course at Haverford Reserve, which is right off of 476 near Villanova, near where Marion is, Lower Marion, that area. And I did a course, and that course was built as a 18-hole family-friendly course with much shorter holes. And they did tee signs and tee pads, and they put everything in. And after about a year of playing, they had established a really good club of people there that took a high interest into the disc golf. And they decided that they wanted to help put in longer tee pads, and they extended the course. They made it more difficult. In most areas, you do that. In your area, and on this 9-hole course, it's pretty much going to be what it's going to be, unless you guys decide to change the park or buy the neighbor's farm. Either one would have to happen. But my hope, you guys, to be honest with you, I think that this is going to be fun. I think it's a really good activity. Again, it's a low-cost way of getting in there and putting another entity within the park itself to get traffic there. My hope is that you guys are going to see this and go, why did we think about this golf earlier? Hey, we've got this other piece of land we could potentially use that would be really good for a disc golf course. And my hope is that this would be something you guys can look at and take it and say, maybe we need to look at this a little closer. It's pretty astounding what's happening across the state of Pennsylvania right now as far as disc golf is concerned. And you guys sit in an area where there is a need for a disc golf course, a nice disc golf course. There's only a few that are in your area. French Creek State Park has an amazing disc golf course. And then you have Camp Sackanack, which is a Christian camp that is only open half the year, so you can't really go out there and play disc golf all the time, but they have an amazing course. But that's it. There is nothing else within you guys and the courses that are down in Delaware. There's one in Kent Square that's halfway decent. But boy, there's a void. There's certainly a void in your area for a really good disc golf course.
Steve Longnecker from Park and Rec here. When we have a recreational use like this in a park, do you often have frisbees that you provide for people? When you talk about a free recreation, say I'm a novice, I don't know what this is, I'd love to come out, try it. Is there ever the afforded, frisbee station or some kind of drop box?
So, what we can do, and I think, yeah, no, that is a good question, is what I can do is I'm in charge of 7 or 8 disc golf courses, right? And those disc golf courses, whether they're private, whether they're public, I'm in charge of Knocknason State Park, I'm in charge of AGA Farms, Tennessee, Sellersville disc golf course. They're all right around in my area here. And we have a lost and found program here, okay? Any lost disc usually has somebody's name and number written on the back. And if we call that name and number, and that person doesn't respond after 60 days, then we either donate that disc or we sell that disc here at our disc golf shop, and the proceeds would go directly back to the course for maintenance, for gas for when we go out there and we weed whack. And because a lot of the disc golf courses in this area, we're in charge of the upkeep. I've spent thousands of hours at Knocknason on a tractor with a chainsaw and a weed whacker in my hand. And we did it all for nothing. We never got paid. We recorded our volunteer hours. That way Knocknason, not pretty amount of volunteer hours were taking place at State Park. But that being said, I can supply you guys with a good supply of this at the township building. That way, if you have anybody who calls and says, hey, you guys have disc golf, I'm interested, where can I get this? You guys can tell them one of 2 things. You can either go on Amazon and they'll be here tomorrow, or you can go over to the township building and we'll give you a couple of frisbees to take over to the course and try it. Okay. I would say that it would be a huge hassle to take somebody's license or worry about any of that stuff. If they go out and they lose those discs were going to be donated some way anyway. you know what I mean, and they'll eventually come back. So I can certainly give you guys a good enough supply of this where you can meet the needs of your people in the community. I would imagine you're not going to have that many people that would come and get discs from you guys, but I'll make sure that you guys are stocked up enough.
Hey, Steve, this is Joe Hoffbauer.
Hey, Joe.
How do you think from start to finish to complete this golf course, especially the 9-foot course, would it take?
So it'll take one day to put the baskets in the ground, all 9 baskets. It's super easy. That's the easiest part. Probably what's going to take the most time is if we do tee boxes, tee pads, which I would strongly suggest that you have a decent tee surface. If we do the tee pads, that would take a couple of days, but I would say at most you're talking about 3 to 4 days of just building the frames out, putting the turf on top of the dirt, tamping the dirt down on some of the tee pads. You want to make sure they're level, and I can go through all of that with the guys who would be doing the construction and putting this stuff in. If you need a quote on installation, I can give you one. But if you guys already have your own maintenance crew and department, it's going to be way cheaper for you guys to do it. And I hate camping down stone, so no, I'm kidding. It's very easy. It's not very hard to do at all. The T signs, as well as the baskets, what we do is you take a 5-gallon bucket from Lowe's or Home Depot, and you take a bag of Quikrete, and you for the baskets, we have a metal sleeve that drops into that bucket. You cement that sleeve into the bucket, and then you drop that bucket into the ground, and it sticks out about 1.5 inches out of the ground. And there's a locking tab on that bucket, and then you tamp it down really good, okay? And then the basket slides onto that sleeve that's in the ground already, and there's a locking tab on that basket that connects with the locking tab on the sleeve, and you just use your normal padlock, and you can lock those baskets in a place where somebody can't just come and take it out of the ground. So really when you're installing baskets, we're just creating those buckets with concrete with the sleeves, which you can do ahead of time. You're digging a hole big enough for a 5-gallon bucket, dropping that bucket into the ground, leveling it, tamping it down, and then you can put your basket right on top of it, right into the ground, and lock it. So it's really easy installation with the basket side of things. The tee boxes, like I said, you want to have a 2x4 frame, and then you basically tamping down stone dust and stone material into a wooden frame to make it nice and flat, and then you wrap and secure a piece of turf over the top of that, and you're good to go. And it's nice. It's a nice aesthetic with the ground and with the park itself. There's a lot of places that put concrete tee pads, large 12x6 concrete tee pads, and that's such a permanent thing to do. And it's really aesthetically not pleasing to the existing park and the grass and the ground. And so I always encourage people to use turf tee pads. And they're cheaper than pouring concrete.
And what is the lifespan of those turf tee pads?
We do they have a 10-year warranty on the turf tee pad. It really depends on like maintenance on them. Every year at the beginning of the season, you should brush out your tee pad. You should fill it with either sand or something to make the fiber stand up again. And then you have less wear, less slick spots on it. I've been playing on the same turf tee pads that we've had for 15 years over at AGA Farms, and we've never had to replace them. In the 9 courses that I've built so far, the majority have been open for the past at least 5 years. I've never had one customer come back and say, hey, we need to replace the turf tee pads, or, it's always been them calling me saying, hey, I'm putting in another tee pad, I need another piece of turf because we're putting in a long tee pad. So I haven't had anybody to date in 10 years of putting in the courses come back and say that we needed to replace a piece of turf tee pad.
Steve, is that the widest area you've seen in tripod enforcement?
No.
Good. That's
Very
good.
close.
That's positive, right?
And well, I went out there right after all that rain too, so I was there, like, where it was tough to walk around in spots, for sure. There's no doubt, like, underneath where that gazebo is, right along the creek there, that was real muddy, it was pretty wet. And it wasn't that bad, to be honest with you, for as much wet weather as we had. I've seen way worse. Understand that disc golf has always been that, the kind of the stepchild of the athletics world. When the township gave us a piece of land, they gave us the old dump. You know, they gave us the old rundown area that nobody wanted, the areas that had the low water table and the flood lines. Hey, you know, go deal with it, put your boots on and go play disc golf. And that's just what we've been used to for 25, 30 years. Which is why my mind was so blown when I first got to Phaler Lake. I'm looking at a 750-acre piece of land with a 150-acre lake in the middle of it. And I had the whole place. And I'm sitting here going, there's something wrong with this. You know, this is not right. You know, where's the old waste management facility that they would give us for this golf course? That's what it's been for a long time. So no, I've seen much worse. You know, and certainly, you know, I think through the summer, you're going to see that dry up considerably. We have Settlers Hills Golf Course, which is not too far from us here, just notoriously bad with water. Some of the bass are underwater sometimes. The entire course runs along the side of the creek. And it is, it's terrible. We all just know that, hey, if we get a lot of rain and stuff, we're not going over there to play. And we'll wait until it's played. And I think that we kind of deal with that in all aspects of sports, whether it's soccer fields, so they're in a bass space, or whatever the case may be. So nothing out of the normal for disc golfers.
How many days would you be able to give us if we go in this direction?
Well, I've been there twice, okay? And I definitely would come back and make sure that I have everything flagged. I would have everything marked off on where everything needs to be, whether it be the tee pad, the tee boxes, and the baskets, and the sign locations. And then I can come out once the equipment comes in, help make sure that everything is put together properly, make sure that there's instruction given to the guys that are going to be doing the installation on the tee boxes, where I can actually show them how to do the first couple tee boxes and be on site with them, to make sure that it's leveled appropriately, make sure that they're tamping it down, make sure that they're giving it the slight arch that it needs to let water run off, and kind of be their hands-on to make sure that they're aware of how the install needs to go. This is an easy one. The last time I did this, I had to fly down to Dallas and do this for the guys. They desperately wanted me just there the first day they were doing the install, just to make sure that nothing went haywire. So you guys are only about an hour and 20 minutes from me. So that's an easy thing for me to come down and make sure that that's done properly. Then if you guys want to do a ribbon cutting ceremony, or you want to make something of this thing, then I can certainly help you make that happen, you know, utilizing our social medias and different things like that. We collaborate on something to get something out to the disc golf community. Hey, we're opening a 9-hole disc golf course in Brook. Come out, have a good time, and we could do like a ribbon cutting ceremony and an opening ceremonies as well. That's something I've done multiple times.
It's almost your home course.
So, to get an idea, okay, we live in one of the top 3 meccas of disc golf in the country, okay? I'm in Quakertown, Pennsylvania, okay? My shop is in Pipersville, Pennsylvania, which is both Bucks County. But I have over 100 disc golf courses within 50 miles of my house. It's obscene how much disc golf there is within this area. And, you know, I've been a heavy part of the growth of this area for a long time, so I certainly feel like I have some of the blame behind how crazy it's been. North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina is one of the meccas. Michigan is a very big mecca in disc golf, a huge state of disc golf. And Canada has it exploding right now. I've done work and consulted in Canada as well as overseas, and we're actually I'm opening my first location and my first brick and mortar location in Sweden. Sweden this year. And then next year, we're opening up a location in the South Island of New Zealand. So, yeah, it's been heavy expansion, heavy growth. I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon. But this will definitely be the easiest project that I've worked on in the last 5 years. If you
Famous last words. Oh, man. You just put the guessing down on this thing. I'm kidding.
Some projects didn't start. I had one in Eatontown, New Jersey, that did get started. It was 80 acres of land, and they felt like there was going to be habitats that were going to be destroyed. And they didn't want to pay to have an environmental scientist come in and do an evaluation to make sure that everything was okay. So it was out of my control. And I certainly don't have a degree in environmental sciences. Although one of my very good friends does, and I can utilize him for any type of reports or anything needed, he just is. But yeah, I mean, I'm sitting here going, I chose the wrong job based upon what this guy's doing. But that being said, yeah, I mean, I'm ready to go, you guys. This is something that's super easy to do. I can get the equipment ordered tomorrow. I can come out and we can finish with just making sure that the design is laid out the correct way. I can get graphics started on the T-signs. That's very easy for me to do. I have a graphic artist who does all of my T-signs. She actually works for the University of Pennsylvania and lives in Westchester, so she's down here, you guys. But she does all of my T-signs for all of my projects across the country. And just really nice graphics. We put the township logo on the actual T-sign itself. If you had any sponsors, if you had anybody else that you would list on the T-signs, we can certainly do that for you. Otherwise, we'll do an information board, typically. That information board is going to have your park rules, hours of the park, no alcohol or illegal drugs. You are at your own risk by being here and playing this off, all of those normal things that we put on something like that. I can make sure that I guide you guys in what we need to have on there. But that's all super easy things to get accomplished and get done. If you guys were to get the green light and say, okay, this thing's a go, we'll be playing golf by the beginning of June.
Sounds good. We have the Board of Supervisors here tonight. We'll probably be meeting with them. We're putting, probably be meeting with them next month. It'll be in April. And then, I know Joe's been in contact with you, and we'll keep our fingers crossed that we'll see where this thing can go.
Okay, so that's the next step, is the next meeting, the next township meeting, you guys would put it out there for approval.
Yeah, we want to talk about it tonight some more, and then,
Perfect.
make a proposal to the president, to the board, or a suggestion to the board.
Sounds good to me, sounds good to me. I'm certainly used to that end of things, so, you guys let me know. I'll tell you, if it takes another month, though, you gotta push my projection back a month.
All right, now,
Don't come to me on May 15th and say, well, let's open it first.
yeah, I mean, it's good, everyone knows, so, appreciate your time, and, does anyone have any questions? Appreciate you taking the time. It was a great presentation. I think we all know more than we did before 7:30.
Good, you guys. I appreciate you listening. And let me know if you have any follow-up questions, or if I need to get anything prepared for your presentation or your proposal that you want to give to the board, please let me know. I'd be happy to share if there's other statistics or anything that you need to know about the growth of this work and that kind of thing. We need to make sure that you have the resources necessary to make sure that they can't say what you do. All right?
Good man.
Thanks, Steve. Thank you very much. I appreciate all of it. Yeah. Good night. Good night.
Take care, Stephen. Okay. Did you get all that?
Me, I did.
Before she picked the pretty good night to,
Summer do what she said.
that's experience. I don't think there's,
Or you want to also?
there's any more, any music at this point to talk about this part. No.
Discussion or
I say, I make a motion that we, is that what we should do at this time, Sharon? To make a motion to add it to our, well, we've already added it to our minutes, so, we can, bring it out. We don't need to make a motion to bring it up at the board of supervisors meeting, do we?
I think we should, as the committee, make the motion and make a presentation to the supervisors at the next supervisor meeting.
Sure, just make a motion, right? Sure. You're much better at this than me, I think we all know that.
I second. All in favor?
We do need someone kind of in an action item to talk, see, get some presentations. And I figured you, that's why I was so right at
You were looking through.
I was looking at Kelly and I knew it would happen.
Oh. Good thinking. All right, so
And when is that next meeting?
the,
Oh, it's on here, yeah.
first,
No.
Would more appropriate be at the April 3rd workshop or the supervisor?
There might not be workshops unless there's any actionable items.
So we could put this on the actionable item and have a workshop,
So it probably just at the,
the 10th meeting?
yeah, when the Park and Rec gives their board report.
yeah,
Okay.
appreciate
April
it.
10th.
All right, so, that was good. As far as parking, there's nothing really new on parking that I can think of. I think it's clear, I made it clear, everyone knows, sometimes there's not enough parking there. We've had many, more than I have had discussions about this, and so everyone's well aware. So I think we'll just skip parking if that's okay. I don't, that's way survey to residents, right? I think Summer's kind of leading that, right?
Yeah,
And-
I'm just gonna read off her email. She doesn't have a significant update at this time. She's doing some research on other municipalities, in terms of their surveys and resulting data, which she believes help and fine tune the original draft of questions.
When do we want to have the survey up by?
Well, I think we ought to let Summer decide.
Yeah, I think it's just gonna be.
It's gonna be when she's ready to,
Okay.
at least that would be the starting point.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not waiting. I know it, we were talking about the election, but, it would just be rushing it too much, and, I don't think this is anything we need to rush.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen.
Uh,
I just thought that was perfect time, but yeah.
Yeah,
Can't do it,
it-
can't do it.
Yeah, and so I
I mean,
think,
there's a
Well, it could
larger
be,
election in November, so
Yeah.
that'd rather be more of the time. So,
yeah,
we'll shelve the survey, well, we're not shelving it, but,
we're just waiting
that was
for
a
Summer to have more
that was
research.
survey report. The Pollinator Garden.
In regards to the Pollinator Garden, again, not a significant update. Summer's researching the ideal plants for the wet/partially shaded area in the back of the park to get an idea of what will thrive, be low maintenance, and offer habitat for the bees. If there's any suggestions, she would love to hear them. And ideally, she thinks this would be a fall 24, early spring 25 install.
That's gonna be in conjunction with this, and it'll be a nice palette of things.
Yeah.
This disc golf course when it comes to fruition.
Yeah, so can you talk to Steve about that? Just that there's possibilities of Pollinator Garden, is that gonna
Rick, we obviously, well, I don't know much about Pollinator Gardens. Would you be interested in
Or even do you have
having
like,
a conversation?
I
down
have,
there?
oh,
Steve does.
all right.
But Rick, you can weigh in, so.
No.
We buy all of our seeds from Ernst Davis.
Yep.
And they've got a catalog of options of wet site, dry site, shady site, sunny site. And then if you've got this like, special cool blue, purple native wildflower that you're really interested in, you can get extra seed to add that. Right? Some of those is really expensive, like $700 for a little handful. But they look really cool, so there's a lot of options that are out there.
I just figured, well, we had you. No, I appreciate it. The walking trail storybook is not getting much legs right now. I haven't driven down to Oxford, see the example that what the Untitled Township Library suggested. We follow. I was going to ask Kelly, I couldn't forget, did you look at the United Way?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the United Way signs to redo them, ballpark, was $1,500 to redo them, I believe. So that, I mean, they're not in terrible condition, they're not ideal. What I think personally needs to get redone is just redoing the hopscotch or the drawings that are on the trails, more so than the signs. Usually, yeah, that's where I'm thinking. Also in terms of the storybook, I haven't heard back from the woman at the library. And I can reach back out to her and see what that status is.
I remember there once, since you and I had a
Yeah.
conversation.
And she said she was gonna reach out to me and I didn't hear from her, so I'll reach back out to her.
That's, I don't even know, that's what I would need. Need some, she's going back to me.
Yeah, I'll go over this week, or this afternoon.
Her hours, you gotta catch her.
Spring breaks.
Yeah, I was thinking next week, so.
Nice. Okay, that's the walking trail storybook. Really nice. Okay.
So I got a hold of Big Air. It's the same group that's, what's the other
East, Netball?
Yeah. So it's the same group that they use. I sent them an email before you sent me something.
Okay.
They finally got back to me yesterday and said it's the same group. So we're just looking for dates. And if we wanted to coordinate it with baseball at all, or how we wanted to do that, we just have to pick dates to kind of, walk in with the big air guys, if we want to go that way. And I know.
Is that in the budget, or is that?
There is nothing in the rec budget, there was no requests for
Okay.
budgets, so anything that the rec and park is recommending that has funds, you're gonna have to make a request to the board.
Okay, gotcha.
Stephen, we talked about having a fundraiser for baseball, open it up to Santa Clara. Did you get any feedback on it?
I did get feedback. They need to finalize somebody who has a food handler's license to actually prepare any food. They have the ability to sell prepackaged foods and drinks. They just cannot prepare anything. I don't know what the theory on popcorn is, but that would be that would be prepared food. So that goes hand in hand with movie theater. Not to say that the Twin Valley Baseball Association won't have somebody who steps up and gets a food handler's license.
Yeah, right.
But they would be all on board. Again, it's a timing date thing. The season usually, any age bracket is going to end that second week in June or first week in June. After that goes into what is like district plays, so there'll be Twin Valley representation of their better players playing in district tournament. So that doesn't necessarily happen there at Twin Valley or Humboldt Park. It would be where the district tournament would be. So it's kind of like it was less getting it right around late May or late June, you know. But there's not to say that we couldn't put together a sandlot evening where, hey, kids are gathering, come out to the ballpark, play some games, and then when dusk comes,
Right, that's kind of what we're thinking about.
yeah.
So I was talking to our neighbor at the park, Pope Schuler, who has had movie night the last couple of years. They're already equipped. They have the equipment for a movie night. And we were talking about how maybe do a collaboration, including fundraising, where it's been do games, events on our side, and while it's light out, and once it starts to get dark, you want to tell us about your equipment?
Sure.
I'm going to introduce my shoulder.
I was coming over here right. First of all, my show won't stay this long. We got padded seats, right? So, anyway, if you ever try a better seat, try the church. Let me tell you how we do it and what we've experienced. Even if we end up not doing something together, maybe we would help you guys. I kind of go with the thing with the church of I want to draw people in. The church services, when we do our ministry on teaching or preaching or whatever, but anything outside of that is more of a, we just want to love on people. We want to be good people. We want to show them that we're a church in the community. We're changing our name to Huntingburg Baptist Church because we want the people to know we are Huntingburg. And so we're in the middle of that. But with our movie night, what we do is we have a 20 by 30 foot screen. And then we have a projector sound system out there. We average 25 to 50 people a showing. And we found that as we used to do it May, June, July, June, July, August, and maybe September. But the moisture levels and the cold, we ended up just being July and August. That was the best turnout. And the equipment wasn't jeopardized as much. What I was talking about with Kevin a little bit was I really feel like we are the township and we're part of it. We would love as a church to somehow help the township because we already have it. There would be no expense to the township. We could implement some type of program like Mr. Doherty said about you guys, and I'm speaking just my mind, if you guys did blow-ups or games or whatever you do and have your concession stand, have your benefit, raise your money, and then the evening came, I mean, we are side by side. You can't even tell where the line is. We could just go right over to the screen that's set up. We always did it on Friday night. So if there was high winds or rain, there was an automatic rain date would move to Saturday. And then we also have a facility there where we have an air conditioned building in the summer. If somebody got hot or needed a place to get out of the heat, the building would be unlocked. Which, even if you guys did your own movie night, I would offer that to you anyway, that if you needed a place for somebody to come, just coordinate with us. I'll have the building unlocked, and we can do that. I know you already have bathrooms there, but just to have an air-conditioned building or to pull somebody in if not feeling well. And then we did things like we had popcorn machines. We gave out free popcorn. We brought in ice cream machines. We gave out free ice cream because we're benevolent. We're the church. We're not trying to do a fundraiser for that. Our goal was to just love people. And so if there was some way we could come together as the township and church that would help the township, that's all we're looking for, is to just say, hey, we just love township. The other thing we do on our stream, which we would invite you guys to do as well, maybe this would be something you'd be interested in, we do video clips before the movie, which is typically 45 minutes after sunset that you can start the movie. Otherwise, it's not dark enough. And we'll do things like I go in there and say, hey, Pastor Schultz from Gateway Baptist Church, if you need anything, we wear these colored shirts, make sure you ask. We could have shirts that said Honeybrook Township, Gateway Baptist Church staff, to assist people in something they might need, because we've had handicapped people trying to make it to chairs, those types of things. We have those outdoor candles set up, so there's a lighting, but it keeps those mosquitoes away. We did those types of things. You could actually have a video of Kevin up there saying, hey, we're from Parks and Recreation, this is what we're doing next month, this is what we're doing next week, these are the things that are going on, and they're just short clips as people are sitting down, and they're easy to do, they're fun. The other thing, I forget what I was going to tell you, but the other thing was, I don't know if I can remember what I was going to tell you. There's so much that we do there, it's great. I don't know if I had something to start time or what it was, but that's pretty much it. I don't know any other questions, but as pastor of the church and talking with people of the church, we just want to extend the offer. And if you guys say, hey, we want to do our own thing, we're not going to be offended by it all. Our dates are already set for what we do. We've been doing it. We do it last Friday of July and the last Friday of August with a wind or rain date set to Saturday. And if that's something you guys want to do, know it's an open invitation to work with you on that. Or if there's somehow we can help you within reason, we would love to help you with yours as well. Here's what I do know. This is what I want to tell you. The people that have come to our movies from other communities, this is what I wanted. They said, you guys have the best movie. Because usually they have a screen that's about this high, and maybe 10 foot long, and everybody gathers around it, like you said, because that's what's easy. We were fortunate enough. We had pools in the ground, and we do a 20 by 30 foot screen, and you feel like you're driving, you know, and people come and they leave, and it's just fun. It's just fun. So that's what we do. You ask what it is. If there's any questions on how we do it or how I can help you, we'll do that too. We have a $2,500 projector that works good. It's worked well for years. We have a sound system that's outside. The way we set it up at the church is we set it up, I believe it's on the north side of the building, but we keep it a little bit east, so all the sound bounces and resonates off the building. And we've talked to the neighbors, and everybody's good. We've never had a complaint of sound, not from the trailer, well, one time from the trailer park, but that guy threatened to burn church down, so he's just not. But even still, we invite them to come, and it's just been good. You know, the sound quality's good, the movie's good. So I just want to fill you in on all of our experiences. If it helps you, if it's an invitation that you can work with, we might not be able to. I wanted to say it with my own voice. And it's one if there's any questions.
Well, how do you pick your movie or what format?
That's a good question. When we first started it, because we're a church, we felt we're going to show Christian movies. And Christian movies meaning all those, you know, what's the one, the fire, whatever, you know, where the fireman gets doing again and all that. And they're great, yeah, right? They're good movies, but that's not what everybody wants to see. On the other hand, I can't show, you know, Top Gun or something because it might not be appropriate to young kids. So for the last couple of years, we've been showing something that's acceptable for everybody. And we've been like Disney highlight movies, that type of stuff. The one we were wanting to show this year, I forget what it's called. I'm not in charge of taking the movies. But it was one that was out in the theaters. And it was a top movie, but it's super clean. So we try to pick movies that drop the F-bombs. And I mean, something might slip by. That's life. But there's not going to be anything immoral within the movie that you say, okay, why did I bring my kids here?
Yeah.
And that's what we're looking
We don't want that part.
Right. And they don't have an agenda, like, even though we're a church, like, that's why I said in the beginning, I use my call all the time to preach our convictions. At the same time, we pick movies that everybody would be comfortable with. And that's the time for us to say, we love you. It's real, you know.
With the movie, do you advertise what movie you're
We
showing?
do.
Is there a licensing thing, or as long as you don't?
No, as long as we purchase the movie, then we have the right to show the movie.
You have the right to show it.
Yes, ma'am.
And you can tell them what they're.
Well,
you can't
but we don't
present
sell
it.
tickets to the movie.
Okay.
So we do a free movie, but if you guys were on your side, and again, I'm making things up,
Yeah.
if you had Bouncy House and, You know, we brought an ice cream machine and opened up the concession stand and, you know, did a towing cost or whatever. You generated revenue for whatever cause you were doing. We're not bringing them in just for the movie, we're bringing them in for the balloons. You know, and the church is having a movie, you know, we can work ways around that if that would be an issue. You could do your thing, we could do our thing, and we've come together for an event.
It'd be really cool, because that's some of the things that we run into is.
Hey, Paul, just kidding.
Okay.
It's for the-
Any other questions for Walt?
Yeah, like I said, you know, you guys might want to do 6 movies, or we do 2, because for us to set up, it's half a day. And watching the weather, and everything's got to be safe, and then the equipment, and it runs very smoothly. It's a great thing, but we've limited it to those months because we found the early months, it's either too cold and the kids won't, or the elderly people say, I just can't do it. So we pick the warmer months, and there's been, you know, a month where we haven't had it because both days are rainy, and people call and say, oh man, can you do it next week? And we just don't, because there's no time to advertise. You may have seen the signs we put out, movie night. You know, we put a big sign on. But I would love to have something that said Unbrook Township and Unbrook Baptist Church, you know, all about the movie. It's not about the church, it's not about the township. It's about the township wanting to do something for the community. And that's the agenda. And that's what we want to do with our neighbors. And that's where Kevin was like, this would be a great idea. And I said, you know what, I think you're right, this would be a great idea. So, anything else, you know, Kevin, that's when you all asking any questions again. If you say no, it's not about the church, it's not about the town. I'm fine with it, I just offer it. Or I can just help. Doesn't matter. Right?
I had a question for Warren. What's this thing that's in the dark, and we're on the church, and we're on the township property? Is there any issues there that you can see?
No, we've had movie nights before. You've had a movie night, movie bar for years.
Yeah.
It's a sanctioned township event.
Excuse me?
It's a sanctioned township event.
Yeah.
And I wanted to back on something really quickly about the fundraising and food handling. I believe somebody
Thanks, Bo.
You're
in
welcome.
relation to the Park and Recreation Board or the event itself should have a food processing and food handling license themselves.
Twin Valley Baseball Association is a completely separate entity, and so relying on them completely to be able to handle the food and make the food and be there might just cause a jam, and it's probably best if somebody within the organization here, as a backup, has their own.
I was actually thinking about it. I understand it doesn't take that long.
No, very easy to do.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't want to say for sure, but I'm pretty sure we have a food handler's license. So if we yoked up with you, we could be able to fall under that and handle it. So just another thing, if you needed it, you could do that.
One way to get the word out, if we do go forward, movie night, is to, there are other churches too in Brook Township.
For their night, too.
I mean, for that night, you know, just to get the word out, to help get the word out. Other ways would be, I guess, the township.
Website and Facebook are more than happy to be publishing information.
You know, I like those little signs too, signs,
They're not too expensive.
what are they called?
Just
Just
yards.
the yard signs.
Yeah. There you go, signs. Well, yeah, where do we go? Where do we go? Movie night.
Just digest
Any
it.
thoughts? That's it?
We want to, we talked about,
No, if you took it early June, you're going to be actually T-ball's done, rookies are done.
we tried kind of end of school the first year, and then we also tried like the fall, thinking, oh, well, maybe the fall or something. our town, our little park didn't get the turnout that we needed to truly justify the cost that we went through.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking like.
And if we could build with something like, with, you said Honeybrook Baptist Church, that to me could become more sustainable as a partnership to be able to do it on an annual basis. And, you know, grow with it, make it bigger, or do a carnival, or the kickballs and
Food trucks.
pickleballs and food trucks.
Food
or
trucks,
whatever.
I mean.
I think that could make it more sustainable than us just trying to advertise or
Is there an issue, do you think, with food trucks there, Warren?
they have handlers.
If you handlers, you might want to reach out to the community partnership as well, because they have, you know, one of them, you shouldn't just look at it like on the
You could do food trucks and
Who's
have
gonna reach out to
them for the
the-
sales. 10% of the sales goes to the park.
the community partnership.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they have experience working with vendors and stuff like that, so.
And they put on,
Yeah, so
Yeah.
from what I'm hearing from the pastor and the board, if you wanted community, you should just open it up to as many organizations that have material support and can get the word out. So Christy attends the community partnership meetings. But we have partners with, members of the Fulton Bank, Lanchesco, Landfill is on it, borough members are on it, Christie represents the township. I think Chair is the owner of Suburban Restaurant in town. So again, just continue to build out.
Make it more of a community day.
Make it a partnership, and we can co-host the location with the church, and as the pastor said, that, they can host the movie part, we can host the other portions of it, and we can reach out to the business that we have a relationship across the street to offer some parking.
Yeah, I'd like to see the other townships say, Honeybrook does it right. That'd be me.
So I'm seeing I'm hearing no issue.
And I would just check with our solicitor to make sure that we're not violating anything with the separation of church and state, but I don't see that as a nonprofit.
Community-based organization. And again, if the issue is yes, then we have the community partnership be the host, and then we are just equal partners, because the township already is part of that organization anyway.
So it'd be, we probably want to talk to Christie about that next step.
Yep.
And-
Well, I don't hear any reason why we couldn't start playing it. If the church is already firmed up with the movie nights, get a good turnout, you should probably, and it sounds like those times work for the Little League, correct? Potentially.
Yeah, July and August wouldn't coincide, which would potentially, like Kevin alluded to, if we wanted to create the event of the day, which could be a kickball tournament, followed by sandlot style baseball that's open, that have a couple of food trucks there. All of a sudden, we kicked in a couple of vendors, that have tables set up, giveaways, bounce house, all it takes to allude to.
The only roadblock you'll have for 2024 is eventually that
Even the skate park is being constructed.
Okay.
So that's potentially going out to bid for the next week or two.
Right.
And if our timeline is, I think where it's going to be, we are looking for construction to potentially start in the next handful of months.
Right.
So my only concern is the parking lot might
Well,
not.
even there, the church has enough parking. If you needed to use the whole parking lot and just have up by the tennis courts or wherever, and if we're working together with the thing, we've got whole property, all the parking, we've got all the ground, I've got that big acreage in the back. Nobody has to know where the line is. We'll set balloons up this year behind the church. Next year, when the park's up, we'll move them over where you
Well,
need to.
and I don't know when it will be built. It might be built that we could do,
The skate park with the disc golf with the sand lot and movie night all at the same time. We could really just have 4 of these large events wrapped in to one event. So I'm not trying to dissuade it, I'm just telling you that.
No, I think we work around it there.
Warren, just a quick question on the skate park. What's the projected timeline?
so this
So
If
this,
everything goes according to plan.
well, nothing good, well,
Nothing has, so nothing has and nothing will. We had been hoping to have the bid documents approved by DCNR late winter, and it's not the DCNR's fault, it's just that we had to wrap up loose ends on our end, so we have given them the draft, and so our grant advisor is in the steps of reviewing it. So if we've aligned all of our ducks and we get the approval, it should go out to bid in the next 2 weeks. If there's other documentations that we're waiting for, and we're waiting for one certification to come back from the state, you know, you push it back by 2 weeks. Again, it's going to depend what type of bids we receive. But we're hoping to have it. We're hoping if it goes to plan that they can break grounds in late spring, early summer, and they're looking at about a 6-week build out.
Okay.
So it's going to be a relatively short process once they start the process, so we're looking at a fall at the latest opening. Our grant expires at the end of this year.
Okay.
and once the bid document is out, the Park and Rec Board will get a notification, you'll get the bid packet. And all of the attached documents which have the plan schedule for the project management portion of it.
Thanks.
Any other business?
What are we gonna do? You guys want to decide on collaboration? I think we should.
Yeah, I think we should start something more, whether
That we proceed with collaboration, or what was it you said?
partnership, community
Oh, to meet with a community partnership?
Yeah.
Well, I would start working with Walt, that would be the go-around for this year. I would see in the next, if we wanted to continue this and it grows, then we want to get more partners involved. I don't know to what extent they want to,
Or how quickly we can do a turnaround with them,
yeah.
or what that looks like.
If there's a motion being made, I think the motion would be made that the dates that last Friday in July, Friday in August, we zero in having our Humboldt Farm Day in conjunction with a rain date Saturday.
It's July
Is
26th.
it your last Friday of the month?
Yes, sir.
And August 30th.
And August 30th.
And then meanwhile, reaching out to the community partnerships, getting our ducks in a row for sponsors for that day.
We're gonna use both properties first.
We will use our property and
Well,
so happen to coincide with the same dates. And then
For the Humboldt Park,
Yeah.
the play day, or whatever.
yeah, play date.
Yeah.
The same as building
Correct.
that. All right. So make a motion that we,
You made the motion, Miranda.
I'll second it.
Did you not catch it? No, I'm sorry. You did that.
Second it, please.
So the motion is that the Park and Rec will engage in a community park day last Friday of July, we have the date 26th. And then the last Friday of August.
So those are Fridays.
Yeah, with rain dates for
With
Saturday.
rain dates for Saturday.
So is it
It's
like a
summertime.
set Friday night? Or we
Yeah, I
have,
think it would have to consider.
because people are
Well,
working.
yeah, with sunset on those nights, we usually start in the late summer.
So if you look up the sunset time, it's typically 45 minutes. It's an hour till it's dark, but we can start about 15 minutes prior to dark.
We
Pretty safe, right?
still have 5 to 8 probably. When we get to games.
Oh, yeah. You're usually open about 9 o'clock.
That's what I thought, and that's.
So 5 to 9 to 4 hours.
Yeah,
I
we
think
could do
that's
something,
short
even if you
because
had hot dogs and stuff.
Yeah, the summer months affords you, one, kids are out of school,
Yeah.
2, be Friday evening, get over there, something to do in the evening, do a couple of food trucks. If they hang around long enough, then yeah, the allure has to be enough that you're staying there from start to finish being the culmination of the movie. You know, there's potential parents go out for dinner, you know, and then kick over there later, the kids do a bounce house, face painting, and then the movie happens. That was dessert.
Yeah.
So that kind of loop in that kid's park thing? It's kind of, that's basically what we're doing.
No, it's separate.
We did it too.
I think though that there's enough. Yeah, it's a good idea. Just put it together, right?
We can always grow from that as we put things together.
It's like a community day,
Can you get that motion?
right?
The last Friday flower or is it?
There's two, so it's last Friday and
July
July.
and August.
And August.
Yep, okay, so both of those are down.
Yep, perfect. Did we second that?
Sure.
I'll second. All in favor?
Paul, did you have anything else you
I just want to let the board know, don't be afraid to ask. If there's something that you think we could help, I'll say no if we can't, but I might say yes, or I might be able to say yes. So please don't hesitate. Things you need to keep separate, understanding you're a township, you're restricted by certain things. We have a little bit more liberty as a church, it's our private property. And if we want to allow you guys to come use our bathrooms, we can. Or set up something, we can. I know that you have certain rules, but let us be our township. That's what we want to do.
appreciate it?
Out there, is there any other business?
What do you say? Sorry, I'm used to Christie and
Or something.
Or something.
No other business. Well, thank you everybody for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I guess, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
One question.
Yeah, thanks, Sam.
Anybody schedule like a cleanup day, or Earth Day, or?
For Earth
Yeah, that's a
Day in
great
April.
idea. That's a great idea. And I was thinking about that the other day, so. And it'll be, too late next week to do it, it'll be too late for both.
Just work with Miranda, and we can put something out. We don't have to do it in a meeting, we can organize something.
I think it's a good idea. Gotta figure out what the path is, all right?
Yep.
All right,
That
start with
sounds like the
Miranda.
state forest could use a good green too.
That's great.
Very large township.
Is there anything to be done up there, Rick?
I got a whole long laundry list of things that we can do.
Really? I think it's the perfect place to have our first Earth Day. I mean, did you guys do it?
So we've been doing the data in the township for a while, every year, and Christie is very passionate about it.
Okay.
So if you want somebody to help get up and going, Christie will be more than happy because she is very passionate about that kind of day.
It would be nice, it's one Saturday, I think we were doing it in April, meetings here, they gave you this. Oh, yeah, but yeah, I went and grabbed my grandkids and went here, and then they loved it, it was good for her.
Thank you. Nope, you did not hear me.
I didn't think so.
All right.
Let's go to everybody.
So we also have backyard, right? So, I mean, there's no facility,